G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. First off, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
How are you, BP?
Does it effectively mean you're old when you win the Grandmasters?
Oh yeah, mate, you're ancient, yeah. You got to go down in a wheelchair for that one.
Beauty, love it.
Congratulations.
So it's real. I'm old.
Yeah, let's bring in the other old bloke.
Very good. Talk about it later on, but all good.
Okay.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Boyce.
And I had the honour of handing over the Grandmasters trophy to one Brett Perry and his team, of course. So, yeah, I think by the end of that regatta, though, I think everyone was a bit old. Got to tell you.
I've got to say it was not easy. It was a hard week, but we'll talk about it a bit later on. I'm pretty sure that there's a few laughs to be had.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a scroll here with about 1 million things to talk about. So, let's get cracking, boys.
Oh, let's get into it.
All right. As Bossy said, there was a heap to talk about, and we actually were thinking of not going with a guest just so we could rip through everything. But then one of our little mates, the man we called the fourth Bar Karatian, the man that's been there from the start, Mr. Harry Fisher, went and
the fourth
won.
leg.
Hey?
The fourth leg.
The fourth leg. Mr. Harry Fisher
yeah.
went and won the Sharpie Nationals. Now, the Sharpies are a class close to all of our hearts.
Damn him.
We've all sailed the Sharpies, some better than others, and he's gone out and won it. So we want to welcome him to the show. And, of course, Harry, being the consummate entertainer, has provided his own intro. So welcome, Mr. Harry Fisher.
Behold the king, the king of kings.
Oh, God. Is that official?
Thanks, boys. Good to be with you. Any wrestling fans in the house? Because that is that's the entrance theme music of the one, the only, the Triple H.
Oh, fantastic. Well, does that mean that we now actually got to call you the Kingfish?
Well, it's actually, BP, the entrance music that Triple H plays when he is world champion. So considered it to be timely after the win over in Hobart. So good to be here, boys. Fourth leg, finally on air, and thanks for having me.
What came first, Harry? The fact that you had to aspire to win a national or world championship, for that matter, of which we can discuss about the Sharpie shortly, or that song?
I think I've been pre-orchestrating my national championship celebrations for the last 17 years. So I never thought it would actually happen because I was too self-indulged in what happens afterwards. But yeah, pretty stoked to get it done. So get to now, people have been asking what I do now, and I say I probably celebrate for the next 3 to 15 years. and then I've moved into the past champions category from that point on, I think. So.
Well, I guess the good thing is the book was flying around down in South Australia when I was there. The perpetual sort of long-lasting book that's been around since the start of the Sharpies. You're going to go into that, pride and joy.
Yeah, Sharpie Legends book. I might have to write an article for it.
Triple H, buy one Harry Fisher.
Buy one, get one, write one. Yeah.
Love it.
Very good.
Well,
beauty.
the obvious thing
So-
is,
Big show, boys.
I was just going to say, the obvious thing is congratulations, mate. You're sailing with Alex Blacker, and so that's a pretty new boat. Two fairly new boats.
And Sean Keane.
Yeah. Two fairly new boats at the top, and then the old legend Mark Soz coming in third place. What was the difference? How come you guys won?
Look, I always say that the trick to winning a Sharpie Nationals is you need to be a top 5 boat, and then you need a shitload of luck. We were fortunate enough to be pretty consistent over the course of the 10 races. We're really, really happy with the product underneath us, the brand new Yacht Lab boat, which is now a year old. Noah Taylor, who came second, is also on a Yacht Lab boat. Obviously, Blackers had done a heap of work to get that up to speed. But then, like it always is, you just put together a really good regatta. We had a black flag early in the event, which took us a while to discard. But then once things sort of started to settle out towards the last couple of days, we just had to sail better than the boats around us and managed to string a few good races together and put ourselves in a position to win on the last day. So, it's sort of all a bit of a blur, to be honest. You can't really remember each race other than the last couple in my head at the moment. But yeah, really well set up boat. Blackers is an incredible operator when it comes to the technical side of it, and he's learnt so much in the class the last few years to put ourselves in a position to be there. And then, when push came to shove, we had a good event, got some good races, threw a race win in there amongst a few seconds and thirds and things, and came away with the chockies. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, I suppose.
So, raced on the Derwent, was it kind of conditions that it's like, it's never like this here, or it's consistent Hobart weather?
Well, Hobart, as consistent as Hobart could get, some would say, but not in a good way. A lot of people thought that they're going to be expecting a bit more breeze. We probably had, I would say, maybe 5 to 12 knot southerlies the whole regatta. And that gave plenty of, so the area of the Derwent near Sandy Bay there's that little spit off on the on that western shore there down near where the club is. That sort of gave a fair bit of influence, but then people were getting a bit out of the left as well. But yeah, it was pretty much that the whole regatta, except for the final day where there was, anywhere between 5 and 15 knot east nor'easters. So that's really where all the tricks sort of came into it. But I think coming from Adelaide and a lot of the guys that came from Perth who had, used to that sort of that flat left-hand track, some of those guys maybe got a little bit exposed. But I know Blackers, being a bit of a river rat down here in Goolwa, knows a thing or two about sailing in tricky sort of situations, and I think it really showed. It's where he came into his own. So yeah, it's a pretty cool outcome, but it was as the Derwent, as you would expect from the Derwent, I guess.
I was going to say it's a quality fleet. I mean, we know the Sharpies have been around for a long, long time, and we did mention the book earlier of Legends. You will find yourself in at some stage, but quality fleet. Did you felt you had speed the whole way through the regatta? And as you just mentioned, it being sort of lighter and shifty, that played into your advantage. Was that something that came to fore? Because the guy that was from Canberra, he was going very well too. So that was always a challenge for you. Yeah,
look, if you were to tell me before the event that we're going to win a sub 10 knot, Hobart regatta with $1.10 on the wire, I would have told you to get nicked. But but yeah, it's pretty daunting coming into a Sharpie regatta when you've got 7 past national champions, including the reigning champion Michael Forster, who's also from Canberra. Mark Salisbury. I'm going to forget some of them here. Peter Chappell, Ash Gabrielson. The list goes on. There were 7 past champions in the fleet. Drew Latham, who's a Tasmanian as well, who won one before with Camel. So, we were sort of coming in as relative underdogs. We sort of had a goal to want to finish in the top 5, which we thought would have been a good outcome. And I think anyone that was there would have seen the top 5 as a good outcome. But yeah, like I said, we just started putting the pieces together and sailed a good regatta. And when it came to the last couple of days, when you're in a position to win because you've sailed consistently, you kind of just then go into this mongrel sort of attitude where you just got to beat the guys you got to beat. And I think the effort of Blackers and our sheet-hand as well, Keeney, who's just a strategic and tactical bulldog when it comes to this sort of stuff, just regatta management, managing the scores, everything was kind of we just felt really well prepared to deal with all of those challenges that come with sailing in a really close event. So, look, it's overwhelming, but it's pretty cool to come away with it in such a hot fleet.
Was there a calculation that came into the last race that you knew you had to get above a certain amount, or you had it in the bag, or you were going to sail?
Well, the last we were second going into the last day. And Noah Taylor, who's the Canberran you mentioned before, BP, he led pretty much from the get-go. So his first 2 days at the regatta was a 2-1-1-4, and from that point on, he was pretty untouchable all the way up until, the last couple of days. So we knew what we had to do to beat him, but then you also had the wily fox Mark Soulsby in the mix, who was technically won it on the last day. And then also Angus Higgins, probably familiar with that surname. He was in the mix as well. So we ended up every morning, we had a bit of a tradition. We'd go down to the local coffee shop near the yacht club there, and we'd have a coffee and we'd just shoot the shit as you do. Mainly just to keep Blackers on planet Earth, because sometimes you need to do that with skippers that are a little bit off the planet.
And shake a bit of dust, of course.
Yeah, well, some big nights always. But on the last day, we actually pinched one of the waitress's order books, and we wrote all the scores down on it because we needed to know, because the second drop was going to come into play on the last day as well. So we needed to know what everyone was dropping. We needed to know what their biggest scores were. And we had this full mathematical algorithm going on. And then we put it in a snap-lock bag, and I put it in my life jacket pocket going into the last day. And the first race of the day, we got a second and Noah got a fifth. So we were like, that's obviously a really good outcome. We knew we were in the lead. And then it all came down to defending on the last day. And we're getting the scoreboard out, we're sitting there writing it all down in the boat, trying to crunch the numbers. And we'd worked out in the last race that basically we had the lead. So we just needed to beat all those guys was the strategy. But also if we came further back than eighth, Noah had a better drop to come back in. He had a 7 that would have come back in, and we had a 10 that would have come back in if we were behind that. So that would have put him back in front if we finished behind eighth. And anyway, the race starts, and as typical Derwent, by the top mark, we're buried. We're in the mid-20s, and we're sitting there on the boat just looking at each other going, we need to come eighth. And I just remember thinking to myself internally, you'd never say it out loud, but I genuinely was like, no, we're cooked here. This is all over. And then Blackers just went into another level, and it was only a 2-lap race. And on the next upwind, which was the last upwind, we just somehow sailed our way through the fleet. I think we tacked about 11 times up that work, got something out of the right that no one else had seen all day, and rounded the top mark in eighth and just had to hold on. So
meant to happen.
Oh, I sort of said afterwards there was something supernatural going on. And fortunately enough, Noah had a bad race as well, and he was behind us, and he sailed through to 10th. So, could have gone either way. And then also Mark Soulsby was leading most of the race, and if he'd won the race and we come eighth, then he would have won. And there's all this stuff going on, and all we had to say on the boat was we just need to finish eighth. That's all we can control. And to the boys' credit, like in your own mind, you might be doubting yourself that it might not happen, but then you just sort of look at the guys on the boat that are digging in and doing their job, and you just got to do the same. I just kept telling myself, don't miss attack, don't leave the fucking jib cleated, because then you'll probably hit the piss and you'll get in trouble for that. But yeah, just kept going, and we got over the line, and then the celebrations ensued from there, and I think they're still going.
Yeah, sounds like it. Hey, listen, the Australian Sharpie, as the name refers to, is a very Aussie-centric boat. Let's, for our international guests, just quickly give a summary of the boat and what it entails and how it.
Well, they all would have watched the doco anyway, right?
Of course they would have, yes. But just nice from your point of view, Harry, having now the Australian/world champion, a bit like World Championship Baseball.
Well, BT, we actually had a couple of Germans racing. They flew over and raced in the event, so it was the first official world title for the Sharpies.
You're a world champion. So just a brief overview of the boat and what it entails.
So I guess the Australian Sharpie, formerly it used to be the Australian 12 square metre back when they were like the heavyweight division. So the class is about 80 years old, and the design that we have today is pretty well the same hull design as they had back in the 30s, with a lot of obviously optimizations and changes to be modern and so forth. So it's a 6 metre long or 20 foot long chined, really narrow chined displacement hull with 3 people on board. So a skipper, a main hand, and a single trapeze forward hand. So that's where I am. I'm the big bastard up the front, and the other 2 guys that are in the back doing most of the work. So obviously the having the third person in what, in most circles could be could easily be sailed by two people in other classes that look the same, like the 505, for example. The third person dynamic really adds a whole nother layer of skill and teamwork to the whole thing, which is what I really love about it. It's got a symmetrical spinnaker and a pole. It's fairly underpowered boat, but it can get up and go when you really want it to. And I think there was an Australian sailing magazine story written a number of years ago by the one Jordan Spencer that said it's got enough ropes to pull to keep you happy and not too many to send you mad. So, it's a beautiful boat. I'm obviously biased, but I love the Sharpie. I've sailed them for my whole life pretty well, and I just think they're incredible. So,
as we mentioned,
is that article still in a frame on your wall, Harry?
Yeah,
it's the one Jordan Spencer, right?
It's what inspired me to become a yachting journalist, I think, in the initial stages. So, reading all that fine work from the great man.
I love it.
Hey,
wake up every morning and give it a bit of a bow and a cheer and go, I'm coming at you, Jordan. I'm coming at you.
Hobart with me, just hung it up on the wall in the accommodation. You got to find everything to get yourself over the line in these situations, I think.
So the Sharpie, I've just been writing down a few things here because they do have several traditions in the Sharpie. Mm-hmm. Unlike your current racing formats around, it's somewhat different in the sense that the lay day is still a big thing for the Sharpie class. Is that still on the cards?
Yeah. I reckon there was
the triangle courses.
Yeah.
Had a few of them, did you?
Yeah, the format is I guess Sharpie sailors call it a carnival. They don't call it a regatta. They don't call it an event or anything like that. It's a carnival, and there's this real family vibe to it all as well. Everyone's dear friends. Some of my best friends in the world are from other states, and we catch up once a year at a Sharpie Nationals. And that vibe, I think, is what bleeds through into the social program and the sailing program as well. So a traditional Sharpie regatta, we'll leave Hobart out of it for a sec because there's a few changes that they make there to accommodate the Sydney Hobart. But a traditional regatta tends to start somewhere around the 28th, 29th of December, and it usually runs through to the 5th or 6th of January. It's better now. We have more races, 9 or 10 races. Back in the glory days, it used to be only 5 or 7 races. And we always have 2 lay days. So New Year's Day is always a lay day because everyone has a big one on New Year's Eve. And then the famous States Night, Chug-a-Lug, which
yes,
many people hear about. And I could share some videos and photos with you guys, but considering you're an international media entity, I won't because they're quite sacred to the class. The chaos and the
well, you can probably give us an explanation of what the Chug-a-Lug is. I mean, I'm pretty sure that most people will understand, but the rules are quite finite for the Sharpie group.
Yeah, well, the rules go right back, not just to the drinking competition, where each state puts in their 4 best male and 4 best female drinkers and tries to compete for trophies that are, 50 years old and probably the mecca of Australian sporting, culture. But even right into the administration of it, it is tradition that each state provides a keg. And they bring that with them from their home state of their own particular choice of variety of beer, and then that is the beer that's provided free of charge to the sailors all night. Obviously, there's been some changes to that over the years where, with liquor licensing and transporting beer, it might just be they donate to the locals. But this year, the Queenslanders from Yeppoon, the bloody yahoos that they are, they brought a keg of 4X bitter all the way down to Hobart. They brought it on the ferry with them. And then halfway, when he was driving, this is the Queensland president, Fraser Platt, so when he was halfway down to Geelong to get the ferry, the Tassie guys ring him up and tell him that they got no beer taps at Sandy Bay. So he went down to Bunno's and he bought all the equipment to build a homemade magic box to serve the beer. And then when they arrived on States Night, the first thing we drank was 4X bitter. and it tasted like shit. But
But it was the thought that counts.
it's the thought that counts, and that's what States Night's all about. It's the friends, the mateship, the love, and then also the showmanship of the drinkers. You know, there's some of these guys that compete and they battle around in the tail end just so that they can have their time in the sun on States Night. And the Tasmanian.
Can you explain the rules to us? Because we would love to know the entire rules.
Well, actually, I used to try to compete in the Chug-a-Lug. My old man won.
You come from a pretty good pedigree.
Well, the old man and my uncle collectively between them, I think, won the trophy about 11 times. And many of those times were together. But both, unfortunately, late uncle and late father, they're maybe the drinking had a bit to do with it. Who knows? I can joke about that because, you know.
You're allowed to.
Yeah, you're allowed to, yeah.
But no, they were always a big part of it. But I used to try and compete, whereas now I just MC the thing. So I just get in there and hype it all up. We've had years where each state has their own entrance music and we introduce all the drinkers and they come in. But basically it's like you'd expect, 4 on each side, standard boat race. And you know, spillage. We have 3 judges, all one from a different state, and they judge all things in terms of the race, who wins, who loses, but also accounting for spillage and other acts of cheating. So
bribery and treason, basically.
And basically, if they're ever unsure, you probably can't see me, but the finger gets spun around and all the crowd goes wild, and everyone chants rerun. So if you're ever unsure, just go there.
So Harry, you're quite famous for introducing probably the second greatest cultural thing in Australian sport, and that's the sausage roll eating competition at the Dockside Festival. Is it true you'll be adjoining into adding a chug-a-lug into the main stage at this year's Dockside Festival?
We'll have to speak to the mayor about that one. I'd love to. I reckon we could find.
Move that one after hours.
Yeah, we might have to put that. Might have to attend a council meeting.
You could just imagine it though. A team from Semaphore, a team from Largs, a team from Port Adelaide, a team from Grange.
Honestly, it's just bizarre. You look at the Sharpie culture around that, but it doesn't take a Sharpie event to bring that out. What it is, I think that's amazing with what we do at the Sharpie events is that, you know, people are just so stoked to be there. They're so proud to represent their class, I think, more than their state. You know, you hear of people move states and they drink for different states and there's all that stuff that goes on, but it's all done because people are just so proud of their culture and they're spending that time with their mates. And it's something that I think you get a little bit of a kick out of it, knowing that it's been happening for 50, 60 years and that you're part of this history and that you get celebrated just as much as, you know, the guys that win the sailing, which, you know, whether that's right or wrong, condoning that, we always say that we support responsible consumption of alcohol, and that is obviously a key part of it, and we all support each other off the water as well. But you know, everyone just has a good time, and there's a chance for everyone to have their moment, and no one's treated differently on or off the water.
So what happens now for you, current world champion Sharpie? You got obviously must be booked out with engagements and talks and all sorts of stuff over the coming weeks.
Just got to do the national tour.
Yeah, so I just got off the phone with the Premier. Obviously, we're
you got today on with us. So
yeah, we've got the homecoming parade on Wednesday down the main street, down King William Road.
Ticket parade.
We've got
three blokes on the back of a Commodore. We can make your own one. That'll be heaps funny.
In all seriousness, though, it is. And I think that the key thing about winning a Sharpie Nationals that hits home is it obviously means a lot to us, but I think what really hits home is how much it means to other people too. So
absolutely,
I had the pleasure of doing the media down here at the Ep194 Nationals this week, and you know there are a number of past Sharpie champions in that fleet: Dave Snow, Robbie Doosan, Dave Royal, that are all coming up. John Bertrand, to name a few. So. That are all coming up and you know congratulating you and saying well done and telling you how much the Sharpie class means or meant to them as well. And I think that's what's really quite special. So for me, there's a lot of fanfare. I think we're going to have we've got a family dinner on Wednesday night with me, Alex, and Sean, and all of our families, partners, and so forth. So there's like 25 odd people going to dinner to celebrate.
Are you taking the double-decker bus, mate?
Yeah, I reckon. Well, we've got people coming up from Goolwa. We've got people coming down from bloody Clare for it. So, you know, it's a big deal. And then on Friday, don't tell Keeney's boss. Middo's aware of it, I think. But we're all taking the day off, and we're going to have just the three of us all going out for lunch to debrief and maybe just kind of enjoy our success a little bit. So the celebration.
I've just sent Middo a quick message.
the celebrations will continue a long time from now, not just
absolutely, and well deserved, mate. It was great. It was great news. We did do a bit of a fist pump when we heard. So well done.
Well, I think the big thing we've got planned is I'm just designing the artwork now, but we're going to get our premiership tattoos, I think. So we'll get a little green Sharpie kangaroo on the ankle.
As long as you don't grow a bloody mullet.
No, well, I'd love to, but I'm starting to, it's getting a bit thin in the old top now.
Yeah, you can still grow it at the back.
Imagine it. What footy team did you play for? What, the Kangaroos? Oh, no, it's a Sharpie National Championship. Tattoo.
It's actually, you're obviously familiar with like the Stars and the Moths. If you win a world title, you get the gold insignia on the top of the sail. And this is something I've been trying to bring back to all of our past champions, and a lot of them don't rock it. But in the Sharpie Constitution, you get to put the green kangaroo on your sail if you win. So I've already given the heads up to Sandy Higgins at Banks Marine, who's our agent with North Sails, who does all of our sales and stuff. So we're going to get some sticky back cut out. We get the green roo on the top for our next race, and make sure that we fly the flag, because it's traditions like that I certainly think are things to celebrate. And I'm not gonna go 2 hours without telling someone I won a Sharpie Nationals, so people may as well get used to it.
Oh yeah,
love it.
We'll put the modesty in the top drawer for this one.
Modesty,
fanfare and
in the Constitution, I reckon.
That's not in the Constitution of the Sharpie.
Honestly, I gave myself till the age of 55 to win one before I'd put the cue in the rack and do something else. And I've won it at the age of 30. So the next 25 years, you can listen to me bullshit about it.
Oh, beauty.
And well deserved, mate. I'm happy to listen.
It's very cool, Harry.
Good.
Yeah, I'm of all people, I'm just super happy that you got it, because, you're one of these blokes that just gives so much. And you were president of the class on it. I think you still are, aren't you? So, that whole thing. And I love the concept of doing the green kangaroo. I think that should just be mandatory. You should get a 5-point penalty if you don't rock it. That's what I reckon.
Well, it's and I think the boys as well. Like, obviously, I'm pretty diehard about Sharpies, and everyone knows that. I think I've done 14 nationals now over 17 years, and I'm 30 years old, so you could do the maths. I started when I was 14. I think it's what saved sailing for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was a kid doing all the junior stuff, and then when things started to get a bit serious, you start looking at youth squads and development squads, and I wasn't anything outstanding in terms of sailing, but I knew what I enjoyed, and then it was the Sharpie class that really saved it for me. It was probably at the age of 14, walking away from the sport, and the old man put me on a Sharpie for the Nationals at Largs Bay, which had 79 boats, and raced around on board a Sharpie with a former champion in Shane Doosan, Robbie's better-looking brother. If you've met him, you'd disagree with that, but Bouncer and I sailed there, and then just developed a love for it. So, and the two guys I sail with are no different. You know what I mean? They've had their own story that's led them to the class, and it's the same story that's kept them in the class. So, Sean Keen's a great example. His old man was, another guy that tried for years and years and years to win a Sharpie Nationals and never quite got there. Sean won an international cadet title as a junior, as a helm. And then, I actually introduced him to Sharpie sailing back in when he was 17. He crewed for me on a boat, and, went on from there. And now we've joined back up and sailing with Blackers, and, there's just these three best mates that are just frothing being on the water, and that's ultimately what sailing's all about. So, and that I think was a key component in our success, was just how much fun the three of us could have together on the boat. And it didn't matter if it was the first day or the last day or a club race or a national title. Every time we go on the water, we're telling jokes and we're having a good time, and that didn't change the very last day of the nationals. We still went out there. Sean still told his joke of the day. We still talked about all the drama and the chaos from the night before and from Chuggalug, and then we go off and we win a title. And it's, we're so lucky about that, but also just going back to the core of it, it's just three guys doing what they do on a Saturday. So yeah, that's what I love most about it.
The one thing that I'll say about it is that a happy boat is a fast boat. For the listeners, we're running new technology with this video stuff, and it seems everything's running through a mixer for me, and it looks like I've got quite a bit of delay, so I'm going to say less and less, but I'll just let the listener know we'll sort that out later on. I do want to say...
Good ploy, Bicey.
I do want to say I was chatting to Bill Goggins, who's CEO of Harkin, this week, and he mentioned your documentary, Harry, about the build of the Sharpie, and they've actually published a link to it in their quarterly newsletter. Harkin do a newsletter, I think, every quarter or every month, something like that. And he mentioned that, and he's actually said, they love that, they loved it. So I just thought I'd bring that up, because if people are looking for it, you can go to the Harkin newsletter and you'll get the link straight to it.
Yeah.
You can go to the Sharpie website, right?
Yeah, it's on the Sharpie website, on the Down Under Sail website and socials, and a few of the other things. But I think it's probably timely to, I know you guys pumped up the documentary when we launched it back in August, and and that was just like a little side project just to help promote the class, but also a bit of a love job for me, wanting to put something like that together. And obviously Bill's, stoked with it, but also the support we've had from Grantley and the team here at the Harkin Australia team, which ultimately, for when Blackers built that boat, put that new boat on the water, he was a fourth-year apprentice, and that extra support from those sponsors, Harkin, in particular, really helped get get the boat on the water and fit it out and sailing and things like that. Musto jumped on board as well with all of our kit and Bolle sunglasses and a few of those things. But to have that support from the industry when you're putting together a project that's not just about your own campaign, but also about more broadly what sailing's all about, and celebrating all of the cool things that happen behind the scenes in terms of grassroots manufacturing, grassroots classes, people that are doing the sailing because they love it, and people that are, in the industry doing it because they love it too, but also trying to make a living from that as well. That's what the essence of the From the Ground Up doco was. And then it's a bit of a fairy tale that it's kind of finished in the way that it has for us. But, I certainly don't have the time to build episode 2, but you never know. Harkin might jump on board again, so we'll see how we go.
It's probably a good little segue of sorts there, Harry, the whole grassroots thing. And that was the key part of putting Down Under Sail together as well, right? Which is
where I was going to go.
Your media outlet, right?
Yeah, I was going to head down that path as well, Bicey. Absolute great minds, fantastic. So, but I was going to actually start off by saying your voice is actually very famous on bar karate. You've been a big supporter of bar karate for a long time. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Me to do it?
We'll get to Down Under Sail straight after this, but can you do it live for our audience? Go.
I can't. I don't have the song. Hold on. You have to bear with me. I don't have the song, but.
It's hot time with Bice.
It's hot time with Bice.
Beautiful. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Kingfish himself who actually is the hot time with Bice voice onto Down Under Sail. Sorry about that. I had to bring it up, but
so I've got a couple of subjects we can go over. No.
Yeah.
For radio, face for podcasts, and put the deep radio voice on.
Down Under Sail is something you're passionate about. It's something that is been getting more and more coverage, if you like. You worked very hard at it, and you've done a lot of work with it. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I suppose for me and Mark Ablett as well, who you'd be familiar with, obviously he's the general manager at KA Sale, works with AMAC doing the WASP stuff and the MAC2s. Him and I started the business back in 2014 after a Sharpie Nationals in Perth, just around how we wanted to, because of how we wanted to see sailing portrayed at the grassroots. And the core of it is ultimately it's a sailing specific media outlet that focuses on grassroots sailing. So, we love events like Sail GP and the America's Cup and Sydney Hobart, but that's the destination for a lot of these guys. Our focus has always been on that club level grassroots stuff. And that was sort of where it all began, and it then sort of ventured into a printed magazine for a couple of years, which was a bit of fun but not quite viable, and then also then into what it is today, which is a bit more of a digital media service company. So, going to cover events and report on events, and we love focusing on the work we really love doing is always those grassroots classes. Focusing on Corinthian and amateur sailors and the stories that they have to share. And, maybe it comes from all the years of sailing Sharpies and all the stuff we talked about before, but Down Under Sail now really is, it's a key focus for me in how we tell those stories through digital means, photo, video, and the like. So, there's times where you're out there doing the work and you're grinding away, and that's kind of the key thing. But I think more broadly, and the umbrella over that is that, you want to make sure that core messaging around what you're putting out there is always about, promoting the sport at that grassroots level, which is not too dissimilar to what you guys do as well. It's telling stories and sharing those stories with the wider public.
So speaking of the Down Under Sail then, you've obviously built a pretty good profile now and looking after quite a few events going on. What's this summer looked like?
Yeah, so this summer was good, a bit quieter than some, but we did do we did get over to the International Cadet Australian and World Championships at Williamstown at the Royal Yacht Club of Victoria. Our another offsider of mine, Jordan Roberts, who's our guru when it comes to all things video and production and live streaming. He was on the ground at that event, along with Alex Dare, who's another young sort of video upstart. Those two covered that event together and did an awesome job. Like I said, we had the Etchels here in Adelaide. We've got the Blue Water Classic BP, which you're a big fan of. Obviously, the Teakle Classic over in Port Lincoln, which we'll be covering, I think, for the 10th year in a row or something this year, which will be good fun. And then obviously back half of last year with the SA Sailing League, we do a lot of stuff with Turnbull and all the other state and national sailing leagues. Dockside Festival was probably a big thing for you and I, Bice, which is not necessarily Down Under Sail, but sort of took up a lot of our time in the water sports media arena. So yeah, there's a few things on the go. It's one of those ones where I'm probably, I'm never out there hustling as hard as I can for work. I always like to work for classes that really want us involved and open up that conversation. And it's pleasing as well. Obviously, the year before, working with the Windsurfer Association, again, really good grassroots class. We're in conversations with the Tazars around their worlds. Those are the sorts of classes that really, it really resonates with me what they're about. And that's kind of, a bit about what this summer and next summer might look like, but also, it's about making sure that you're delivering that media, but also making sure that you don't get too, I'm always a big believer in making sure you don't get too invested to the point where all your eggs are in that basket and you don't get to enjoy your sailing either. So I think now I've been full-time on my own for about 2 years, and sailing probably makes up 30 to 40% of my work. So it's nice to get away from sailing to make sure that you're paying the bills, to ensure that you're not so invested in the sport that you can't enjoy the social and the sailing side of it too. So that's my philosophy more broadly, but it's still obviously a big part of my life professionally.
So how do people get hold of you to talk to you about covering events?
Harry at downundersail.com is my email address. If you go to downundersail.com, my phone number and email address are on the website. And so is Jordo's as well. I mentioned Jordo before. So obviously Mark Ablett is a co-founder and he's pretty heavily tied up with the WASP stuff now. He's still involved a bit, but Jordo and I are sort of the guys that are doing most of the event media. So either of us will be able to make something happen for sure. And yeah, open up with an email, and we just make it happen. So, it's not, we've got obviously some standard rates about what we cover and how we do it, but, our big philosophy is making life easier for volunteer committees. How do we promote our events? Like, okay, well, let us help you, and we'll customize something to make it work, suiting budget, suiting their goals as well. So, I'm always don't want to ramble on too much about business, but it's always good to just sort of remind people that we want to find solutions for them, necessarily not just kind of say, here's a quote, take it or leave it. So that's always been my philosophy.
Harry,
I've got an idea, Harry. Researching this particular...
Is it, hold on, Bicey, is it an idea to start another business together? Because I think I'm all bloody drowned out.
Well, stay on the line after this, Harry, because I've got I've got a business opportunity for you, Harry. So I'll speak to you after this as well.
It'll be a great idea. Specifically researching for this particular episode, and there's about 20 different regattas going on. A central place where you can find the results.
I reckon you guys had this conversation with the flotilla guys from the US, was it?
Yeah, correct.
I feel like they're probably the furthest along on that idea. There's also a Sailing Results app in Australia. I forget the gentleman's name that runs it. He'll hate me for forgetting. Peter Merritt, I think it is. Sorry.
That's it.
And they're doing a lot of really good work about centralizing that stuff. But again, it takes buy-in to have it all in the one spot. And it's so hard. I was trying to find results for a particular event the other day, and I was going to the class website and then the socials, and then I had to go to a club website, but then it wasn't that club that was running it. It was a different club that was running it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you got to get the guys from Top Yacht on the podcast and just give them a spray, because they need to work out a way, because they're the ones who everyone runs their results through. So maybe they should centralise it. But hey, I don't know. It's just an idea. But you're right, Bossy.
Well,
we should.
And maybe they might go, oh yeah, just go to Top Yacht /results and it's all there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, let's try it out, shall we? topyacht.net.au/results. No, sorry, the file you're looking for cannot be found.
Hey,
so what gives, hey?
I just want to say, one of the things you mentioned in your discussion there, Harry, was the Etchells, which were at the Cruising Yacht Club of South Australia with young Mr. Nick Bice as the Commodore. He leaves his oil stains all over that car park. And then, of course, Mr. Brett Perry was competing in. I think we just...
His card's still there at the moment. He hasn't picked it up.
Let's talk about the Etchells. You guys take it from here. I just do the throw.
Still here.
Well, I'll kick things off. I, as the Commodore, had the pleasure of welcoming everyone, which was basically 1 week ago now. Yeah. And there was several people within that room who you just look at, and people that you've admired for a long, long time, who we'll get onto in a minute. And just the whole thing of a yacht club being a yacht club again. After this pandemic, it's the first summer nationals the Etchells had run in 3 years. Gates were open, boats were coming in, people putting boats together. You could feel the real vibe. And the similar thing would be going on down at the Squadron now with all the VXs coming to town. But feel the vibe. And a lot of, one particular team got here very early to go sailing quite early, which is...
Only because we wanted to go to a winery on Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. But so BP and his team and the Great White Hunter with Dunny and also Sandy did quite a bit of sailing before the regatta. And it just as people came in, and from an actual regatta point of view, holy crap. It was
Unbelievable.
possibly the best week of weather that we've experienced for a long, long time.
Coming from Adelaide, I was always, especially in the last couple of years, Bicey, you've been saying you're a bit worried about it. And, there is always a concern that the weather's going to be a bit up and down. But I have to say the weather was just absolutely beautiful. The wind was perfect. Started from 10 to 14 knots in the morning and built to 15 to sort of 17, maybe 20, a little bit more on one of the couple of days. But the beauty of it was the tides were a little bit different to what we're used to. So it created a really challenging racetrack out there. And that was something that Sandy picked up on our local, Sandy Higgins, who started with us. He picked up on the fact that it was quite a challenging racetrack. So it brought to the fore some pretty big names that were, always there, but it also threw into the mix some big decisions.
Oh, yeah. So 26 boats on the racetrack, mentioned it last week. And yeah, I must say the OCB, we didn't bother the podium, and I did mention this last week as well, that as Commodore, I would commit to wearing the whites and shouting the bar if we'd won a particular heat. It's the whites are safe; they didn't had to get broken out at all. But in saying that, like you look at the top of the fleet and like, yeah, fat chance that's going to happen, given we had about 12 minutes prep. I reckon about 12 years prep you need in these boats to actually go any good.
No question at all.
Well, not any good, because the difference between 8th and 18th is 30 seconds, basically.
Yep.
On the racetrack. So super close, but bloody good. I think you, Jordan, mentioned at some point you blokes have been pretty quiet down there. Have you been absorbed by the Etchells Mafia?
I did send a little note out because none of you idiots were answering me. I was trying to ring you all week and I was getting no reply. And I thought the war's broken out, the Mould 11 fight, the concertina boats, this boat, that boat, like I'm intrigued how it all went. But yeah, none of you pricks replied at all. So, I didn't take it personally though. I've found new friends.
But this is I don't know about you guys, having heard all of your discussion and dialogue around the Etchells for the better part of the last year or two, and hearing John Bertrand speak at the presentation around where the class is at, this is a real line in the sand moment, I think, now for the Etchells globally. Right. There is obviously the ability to race there's the solution, the cut twice and stick that together program. There's the option to then race those boats in the Worlds in Perth, and then there's obviously a vote, I believe, you might need to correct me if I'm wrong, that then needs to happen to race globally from there. So it's about, this is a real, I think, critical line in the sand moment for the class to survive in Australia, I think, long term. And I think visually what we saw in Adelaide was that is on track, and that the racing was great. Some fantastic sort of, sentiments being said around the bar and stuff after racing was that this is the way forward. Let's get on with it and move on.
Yeah, I think that's a big point. But while we were here, we might as well just quickly do the results, and we can explain that with the M11s in mind. So basically, the lead into this regatta was really focused on how the M11s were going to compete, considering that all the M11s that were here had to be effectively cut and shut in two places and more rocker put in. But if you look at the results, John Bertrand won the regatta. Now, just there alone is a massive achievement. Bicey, you want to add something there?
I mean, well, there's not many more icons in the world of yachting with the name known also outside of yachting than John Bertrand. So to have him win with a bunch of young guys who've jumped on board who are extremely good sailors as well is quite phenomenal. At 76 years of age, mind you.
76.
And
gave us old buggers all hope.
Absolutely.
And I can say that now.
You should go all right soon, Jordan. But no, sailed exceptionally well, very consistent. From off the water, he sailed his boat a lot flatter than everyone else. Yeah. And there's a few different things there that he had going on. The rig settings were not completely different, but a little bit different to some of the other boats. And it's amazing how tweaky these boats are, but he clearly knows how to make the boats go well. And it's not about making the boats go fast. It's just making sure you don't go slow. If that
Yeah,
is a
absolutely. Because
statement.
you get swallowed up. Correct. So John Bertrand won the regatta with the race to spare. He decided that he was going to go in and get first to the crane, which was a good option for him. And that's how that panned out. And obviously, Billy Merrington from New South Wales got in for second. So he was back looking for back-to-back Australian titles, obviously. So M11 first. Then we had a heritage boat of Billy second, and then Chris Hampton from Victoria in I believe is an Ontario boat or heritage, either or, that doesn't matter. Not an M11. Comes in at third. So it was definitely a competitive playing ground, if you know what I mean.
Across the boats.
Yep. So let's just go job done tick. Waiting for you, Jordan.
I just fine, job done, tick. Let's go. I mean, I don't see it all finishing. Obviously, let's hope it works out because one thing I think you mentioned, Bicey or Harry, one of you said like the perfect week for weather, and it was. The footage that was available was just showing how wonderful it was. So. It's great for sailing, good tweaky boats, tactical sailing. The Etchells deserve to survive. We love them as a boat. And, it's all good. I love it. I think...
But it's one of those things as well, Jordan, I think, like you mentioned, just quickly, I think you mentioned that, like, job done tick, we can have a bit of a laugh at that, but it needs to be job done tick now.
Correct, 100%. 100%.
And we can argue as much as we like about what could or should have happened in that process, but at the end of the day, this is now whether it's the right solution, wrong solution, imperfect, perfect solution, it's a solution, and it's what's going to help move the class back to where it was, and that's when we'll start seeing 60, 70 boat fleets at Etchell Nationals again, and start moving towards what JB was saying was, this is the best class for one design racing in the world, and that's his opinion. That's probably the opinion of a lot of people, but it's vital that maintains, I would imagine. So
it can't continue with this level of controversy. And also, one thing I want to add there is there was an owners meeting in Adelaide, and the word is that there are people that were obviously vying to make sure M11s were considered illegal and that needed to go through the process of some form of adjudication. That word is that there is going to be correspondence between them to the international fleet, that they really saw no difference on the water. It came down to sailing ability and who was on the boats. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that's coming from an outside source and not coming from an M11 trying to justify the existence of them. So I think we have seen a bit of a breakthrough moment. But as you said, Harry, for the class to continue, this whole thing's just got to go away.
So maybe you guys need to stop bloody talking about it then.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Right, lesson learned.
Right. We get emails, Harry.
No, keep going.
We get emails. We get so much information. All right, we might move that on. I think we're going to run out of time here, Harry. So we might call it quits here, and then we'll come back with a bit more. Yep. So thanks for joining us, mate. We're super stoked to see you and have a chat. And welcome back on the show anytime, bud. Because you're part of the team. So awesome work.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be with you. And, if you can't find me, I'll probably be telling my story somewhere else.
sitting at another group in another bar. Good on you, mate. No, good on you, Harry.
On the way to the Royal now to do the exact same thing. I might tell them exactly what happened.
Beautiful. Good on you, mate. Right. Well done.
See you, Harry. Again. Bye. Always feels good with a fourth leg, doesn't it?
Especially one that's usually invisible.
No, congratulations to Harry, Blackers and Keeney. They in the Nationals there, they bloody nailed it. And knowing Harry, quite intimately over the last 12 months, specifically with setting up the Dockside Festival and all, And also knowing the amount of work that him and his buddies put into the Sharpie, it's a well-earned win. Not to mention Harry had a baby in October.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, welcome to the real world. Time for the big boy pants. Let's go.
Pants.
But in saying that, someone who has their big boy pants is Harry, what he does with the media and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, let's see, eh? Who knows where his vision, the whole grassroots thing, and we've been busting our ass about it for the last 3 or 4 years, that it's all about grassroots and someone else who sings from the same hymn sheet, as they say.
Yeah, very cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we go on to other news?
Yeah.
Sure. There's too much. We're getting too many emails. This is
much.
Might have to bring a fourth person in.
Might speed through a few things, and apologies for the listeners that put so much effort in. We got some great footage from the 29er Nationals, the shark footage, which we put up on the Instagram page. Massive email from Matt Butterworth. Matt is obviously we've dealt with quite a bit in the past, and he's been behind trying to grow that whole squad and group, and he sent us this huge email just talking about ideas and stuff. We might have to bring it back up, Matt. Probably not enough time for it now because there's quite a few different topics he's raised, but it is very detailed. I just want to acknowledge that. There's also Jonathan Bailey sent us some good Milders 15 footage. And speaking specifically of regattas that are coming up, there is Russell Morris sent us the note about the Lanceland Wind Fest. So I don't know if you guys had a look at that, but the Lanceland Wind Fest, which is 18 to 21 January. So it's basically starting in a few days, and celebration of windsurfing, winging.
Word has it is going to be 18 to 21 knots the whole time.
Perfect.
I love it. So if you're up on Lanceland there, you can get involved in that. Obviously, it will be nice and windy. I might bring the 16 discussion in here. Did you have that on your list, Bossy, of things?
Yeah, I've got it on my list.
I'll leave it out.
So
we'll come back. Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. There's so much here. Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. Nick Madison sent an image of Barkarati, people wandering around in Barkarati in New Zealand, which...
How did the package get there?
Yeah.
No, the other one...
The people pay for.
Like I said, it may or may not arrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. We only got one package. How did it get there?
No, that must be from legitimate purchases.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Those things,
yes. Ted Hubner sent us some image of people in bar fights with Newport Police Force, which we all know well. So obviously they're just getting warmed up for the ocean race turning back up in town again in a few months.
Just chalking up the elbows, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Padding out the cells.
Yeah,
getting a bit of pre-race training in.
Oh dear. Anyway, so it's not just the ocean races that seem to get in trouble with that police force, but sent that one through. Josh Torpy, a rum and silo is a mutton bird. That's what it's called, courtesy of Knocker. Well, we like what we came up with. So
yeah, but did he add the lime?
Oh, that's right. We'll have to talk to Knocker.
How much ice was in it?
Yeah, that's right.
Is a mutton bird in Antarctica?
It's the subtleties that make the difference. That's right. So the gun runner, we're sticking with the gun runner, and we're getting heaps of photos of people drinking that. So good on you to everyone. The other thing that we got is a couple of names for autopilots.
This has been going bananas, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This is great.
Peter Skew sent an email.
Very funny.
Have you got one of you guys got it in front? I'll just have to.
I haven't got it in front of me, but
how about from memory?
Yeah, from memory. We'll do it from memory because that's funnier.
Yeah.
Doris.
Yeah, he wanted to name the autopilot on Team Melitza Doris after your chat with Rosalind last week. My first thought was to call it Doris. There's a nice symmetry there. When Boris isn't on the helm, Doris takes over. However, the possibility of misunderstanding when The auto helm sends the Amoca into a massive wipeout and someone screams, F you, Doris. Amid all the other noise on board could lead to some awkward moments with Boris, which I thought, he says the more sensible name is Cheryl, so when the auto helm stuffs up, they all know that Cheryl went feral, which is an old Jim Haynes song. But the other one was Lawson Shaw, and I think this one may actually have been put on the boat already. He was pretty happy with the episode. There is only one name for an autopilot. It should be called Brittany, as in Britney Spears, which I thought was quite good.
Yes.
And then we had a good breakdown of his J24 regatta. But that's where we are with naming on the autopilots.
Wonderful.
Any
Britney
winners
Spears,
for that?
Well,
Any
Britney
winners
Spears
out
is
of
a
that
beauty.
lot?
Britney Spears is a beauty, but they're all good.
They're all good. Yeah.
Just keep them coming in because it creates a laugh.
It does create a laugh. Now, Bice, I've got one more, but I'll introduce it in after this.
It's hot time with Bice.
Care
still
of
here?
one, Harrison Fisher. He's still here.
Is he
He's
still here? I
on
was
the
gonna
line.
say,
Harry, you
where-
can hang up now.
Yeah, just will you go away?
We have one more listener opportunity, Christoph Zeisser. And he wrote in.
Oh, Zoisy.
Zeisser, yeah, the Zeisser, the Christo.
Zeissmeister.
If you're searching for a new name for Hot Time with Bice, what about calling it Roll the Bice?
Oh,
We could think of a segment that suits that particular kind of what
And-
that purveys.
yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
Time to roll the dice.
roll the
All right.
Bice.
Yeah, well, I guess if we're recording Lincoln again, that's probably it.
It's not hard to do.
By the way, Bice, just before you start, how good's your little niece just done?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got it on the list.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
All right, I'll stop
All right.
stepping on you.
Hot time. Now, before I start, and on a serious note, throughout the week, a good friend, or who became a good friend and a well-known name in New Zealand, Grant Calder of Mar Calder, who had organised many stopovers in Auckland and Melbourne and Hong Kong, unfortunately, has departed us, has left us at 41 years of age.
Jeez, that's young.
Word has it was a heart attack. It's just devastating, really.
Absolutely.
And so love goes out to his family, his friends, his business partner, Tom.
Oh, feel like we've
And-
just
There's a
keep going, Bice.
Sorry?
We lost you for a sec, mate. So
Just
you
start-
just said
start-
Tom, which is Tom
Just
Mayer.
start from his business partner. You haven't
Yeah,
covered
Tom
him.
Mayer, and we'll just continue on.
Yeah, from-
and his wife and two kids. Grant, I'll just finish off for you there just for a sec while I'm talking. He was the sort of bloke, when you bumped into him, you just know you're about to have a laugh, like he just loved having a good time. He was a great guy. So continue on, bud. Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually remember at one of the Volvo Ocean Race conferences we had, and everyone had to introduce themselves by pre-making a video. And at the time, there was this video going around of Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits between two trucks reversing Volvos. And it had this song running behind it. And anyway, he replicated this particular scene, and which in itself looked
snapped in
pretty
half.
ridiculous.
How
But
far
then
did
you
he? How far
but
did he
then you
get?
saw the behind the scenes stuff, and oh bloody hell, it was funny. So it's like the blooper reel it ended up being. But yeah, what a cracking guy. Right. Moving on. All right. As mentioned, Jordan, yes, niece of myself, daughter of Sister Rachel, who still hadn't forgiven you, Jordan, and and of course, daughter of James Patterson. Oh, sorry, I haven't told you what I'm doing here. There's so much going on, so I'm just in yachting at the moment with all the national titles. So I'm going to run through most of the stuff that came across my desk and just give one key point. So my key point here for the Opties was, well done, Cleo. 8th in intermediate, first female, first regatta, basically. So bravo. And just to mention, 200 odd boats. Whew.
That's a
Like in
fantastic effort.
you know, across the open fleet, which then got split between gold and silver. Then you had the intermediates, and then you had the greenies.
Yep.
So, bloody hell, it's a lot of boats.
That's
a
finally
lot
a
of boats.
talented sailor in the family.
Correct. All right. No particular order. 16s.
Are you just trying to bury yourself with Rach?
Sorry,
No.
Rach.
In no particular order, moving into the 16s, taken out by Nathan Wilmot. Again, didn't he win last year?
He won last year. He did.
Yeah. And I did notice your mate Quirky's sailing.
Michael Quirk is Nathan Quirk's brother. Different Quirk.
Sorry, different Quirk. Well, fancy that. Quirks get a bit of a mention a couple of weeks in a row.
Yes.
Well,
So,
I don't know if you guys watched this, but I'm all over this. So
48 boats.
48
Pretty
bucks. It was fantastic. And live streaming. So what had happened going with this, with the 16s, so Typhoon was leading until a few days before the finish. And then the Noakes steered by Dave O'Connor. I think, I don't have the crew names in front of me, but so I think Dave's an old 29er world champ from memory. And they just had a run of wins on the Noakes and sort of just started jumping up their score and wins, seconds, fifth. And so they were actually in the lead. And then so going into the last race, Typhoon, Nathan Wilmot and Pagey was on there. They had to beat the Noakes by 3 places, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell you, the Noakes was smoking. Like they were doing the full cover, like Typhoon was doing the full cover on them. They sailed out from underneath it and then just took off, got around the first top mark in second, just flew downwind, just smoking along, 5-lap race. There was no way, like Typhoon were deep, about 10th or a 12th or something like that. And then coming off the bottom mark for the last time, about to head up to on the last work, something's gone wrong on the Noakes' rudder, and they had to put it in the drink, and they were dicking around for at least a good 30 minutes. Completely cost them the Nationals because they had it in the bag.
It was at Manly, wasn't it?
It was at Manly, yeah. They could have touched.
Yeah. Well, it's either that or was that straggling sunfish from the Hobart.
Yeah, of course.
Just hanging out still.
Yeah, but so the results
hadn't quite synced his diaries.
The results don't quite tell the story. It was great watching. There was a lot of good sailors. The Emmy with Davey Gilmore, who we've had on the show, Danny Turner on the Moon, and they were sailing fantastic. Consistency paid in the end, but the Noakes was the fast boat in the right conditions, and it had the right conditions for about 5 races. So anyway,
unfortunate.
Yeah. It was a pretty exciting last race. Like I thought it was all done and dusted, but then bang, like they're in the water, and the Typhoon capsized. They were fighting out early on in the race. They were fighting out, and then the Typhoons put in the drink coming in the bottom mark, and thought, it's all over. And then
and they came back.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my input for the 16s. Good watching. You can go and find it on the YouTube.
The YouTube. I like it. Thanks, Mum.
Just like on Bookface and on the interweb.
I'll ring you on the Skype.
Continue.
Rightio, contenders. Nationals have been done. They're about to launch into the Worlds. And I believe she is going to be cranking for the first start of the world. So they've moved everything, I think, at least till to like 10 a.m. starts or something, just to make sure that they, can avoid the maximum output of the Fremantle Doctor.
The Doctor's not in full swing, you reckon? So he's just warming up.
He's just warming up, About to just wallop him.
Our mate Mark Bulker looking good going in. He won the Nationals. He's had plenty of regattas in the last few weeks, so he could be the man. He could be the man. So
including a taser with his son. Is that am I right in saying that?
Yeah. Matty Mulder, obviously, I think Matty is right there as well.
Past
he came
champion.
second. Yeah. And he's Simon Barwood. Just a lot of Aussies. There are a few people from overseas. We'll see how it all plays out. But as you said, it's going to be windy.
Yeah.
Be fun.
Now, something just up the road from me with Aeros out of Largs Bay Sailing Club. which ran straight after the Herons, I believe. I don't have much in the way of the Herons results, but in the Aeros, had a couple of national champions there, in the fives, and then an old sparring partner, Mark Connery, was second in the sevens. So good going there. And that's basically at time of recording. That was the last day of stuff going on down there. But she's been a busy summer down this end of the coast.
The VXs start as well, don't they?
Well, the VXs, yes. The VXs are starting tomorrow out of the Royal SA Yacht Squadron, of which, you've probably got a bit of a handle on some of the Queensland contingent there, Jordan, with Brett and the guys. But, our local state hero, Dave A, is probably, going to be getting plenty of support. Well, and to mention the rest of the SA fleet as well. And worth a mention, after 17 years, Grant Geddes is making a comeback into sailing.
Is he?
Wow.
Is Grant Geddes being the ex-world I-14 champion and 3-time national Sharpie champion.
Yeah,
there you go.
And
the VXs are dragging them back in.
Yeah, well, don't get him on the drink because you know what's going to happen.
Glass and a half.
Glass and a half.
Inside joke.
Nickname being Cadbury.
Yeah.
Had a chat to young Silas Nolan during the week at the Etchells. He was sailing at the Etchells, and he said he was preparing for the week. His training was the Etchells, he said, but he's going to potentially have problems with his lay lines. Being slightly different, but
a little bit different. Upwind, not so much. Well, enough to be noticeable, but downwind, she's different, my friend.
Jibe angles through 180.
Yeah,
it'll be good. It'll be good going. The Queensland boats will be favourite, obviously. Mac 1's probably the favourite going in.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. They hike really hard, and in choppy water, that's going to come to them. So, those guys throw their fitness at it, and it'll definitely suit them.
Let's hope it turns it on like it did last week for us for the Etchells.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm just going to head across the border down into Mexico land, into Sale, Melbourne.
Oh, yep.
Of which is, you look at the list of the competitors, you look at, what class, basically it's the Olympic classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see some notable names at the top of the fleet. For example, Werney, who's currently second in the lays, or the Ilka, sorry. And something worth mentioning is Angus Higgins and his Hells Sophie currently sitting in second in the 470. And Angus coming straight out the back of the Sharpie Nationals. And let me tell you, a Sharpies Nationals is not where you go to sharpen up your 470 sailing.
No, you're steering too. So, he's going to be Regatta. He's going to be Regatta
fit.
ready.
That's it, yeah.
He's been doing heaps. Yeah.
Bloody oath. So, nothing. That we're still only into 1, 2, 3, 4 races depending on the class. So we'll have more on that coming up, with quite a few notable Barcaradians will be taking part in Sale Melbourne. So that's more results to come on that one. Couple more things: the Transatlantic Maserati sailing team, the Tri finished 5 days, 5 hours, something, which is a new race record.
Beautiful.
Now that's quite a little jaunt.
Yeah,
across the Atlantic, isn't it?
Yeah,
a little bit of a skip and a hop for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And at time of recording, we don't have a monohull winner yet, but by the time you listen, just go check it out yourself.
Yeah. By the way, we're going to do a good few minutes on the ocean race, so don't, if you're getting bored with this stuff, just...
Sale GP, worth a mention.
Light conditions. Light conditions.
Pretty light in Singapore. What do you got there, Jordan?
Well, I can pull it all up. I believe. It's happened. We haven't been watching. There's a confidential note against something here. I better not say what that is.
That's right.
I think the final results: New Zealand over Denmark, and then Australia. So that's what I understand.
New Zealand
still fairly light winds. I'm just checking shortened courses. Yeah, light winds.
Yeah, not much falling going on.
So tough day on the water.
And next regatta being Sydney. On what's that, Feb 23rd or something?
Mid-Feb. Yep. It'll be that one will be a ton of fun. So if you can. The one of the good thing about Sydney, and I will say this, is I think it's on Shark Island. If you want spectator, because it's the hardest one for them to set up to put in front of all the VIPs, so they get a lot of boats out. But on Shark Island, you can be right in the middle of it, and Jody Shields is normally doing the commentary on the island, and I think your entry includes alcohol or something. Like, it's a pretty fun day.
Imagine that. What's my money going towards? Oh, alcohol and listening to Jody Shields.
Oh God, you need the first.
Yeah, but if you're not one's the super elite luxury,
Just jokes, Jody. Just jokes.
Go and hang out with Jody and have a ball.
For sure.
It'll be a ton of fun. So Anyway,
Awesome. And now that's all I have in that regard, boys, with what's going on. Unless any of you have any little updates. Obviously, the Etchells were there, but we did, as spoken about with Harry.
I'll just say Huntress is off the beach. She got skull dragged off and she's floating. So that is good news. Good news for everybody involved.
For where that could have ended up, having read a few articles. Woo.
Yeah.
Dear idea. Ocean race start. Now, my key point here.
Right.
The weather.
Yeah. The weather is unbelievable. Oh,
Picture
actually,
this.
Before we do that, guys, there is one thing we have to mention. The fins. So up in RQ, we had the fins. We've got the OKs coming, and then the 505s. Congrats to Robbie McMillan with the win, then Cam Tweedle on sailing Doris. So he's obviously got an auto helm on that. And Mark Perot for the top three. Now, what happened, boys, in the last race, Matty Visser, who's a well-known fin sailor in Australia and, a loyal part of the thing, I think he hit the mark and went to do penalty terms and got fully crunked on the head with the boom. And to the extent that he was out cold in the water face down.
Yes.
And so boat's capsized, he's in the water face down. What they have up at RQ is they've got there's a couple of guys do what's called RQ TV, where they film all these events and they do a great job. Just two blokes volunteering and spending their time out there. And they were filming that mark rounding. And you can actually see the footage if you go looking for it. And they quite quickly zoomed in. They zoomed in and they worked out that he was face down and not moving. So they came in, grabbed Matty and put him on the boat, and he had no pulse. They resuscitated him, got him to emergency services, got him into intensive care, and he is fine. He's alive.
Yes.
But Jesus.
That's scary stuff.
Scary stuff.
Wow. It's just amazing to think what would have happened if those guys weren't on hand.
Exactly, BP. Exactly.
So there was a bit of a call going back towards looking at safety and helmets and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's a pretty big thing, and thank God for the guys being there.
Well, the fin's a fairly big rig, and that boom is right down low. Like if just and to get hit by the boom in a jibe, that would be.
Especially when you're a little bit sort of wobbly coming in there.
Despite the seriousness of this discussion, you'd be no good in the fin, Jordan.
Yeah, too tall.
No,
you'd never get that noggin under the.
Too much of a target for the boom too. Yeah, that's right.
And you'd be absolutely buggered trying to bring helmets in.
Yeah, well, trying to find a helmet for
trying to find a helmet for you, you'd have to sort of make one up. Make one out of egg cartons.
I feel like we've exaggerated the size of my head. Right, ocean race, the weather.
Ocean race, like the size of the Wesley coming in is about the size of your head, my friend.
Unbelievable.
on what do you call it? On windy weather, it's the same colour hair. It's red.
Mate, put it this way, it is cranking Westleys, and what way do they have to go once they leave Alicante? A little bit south of west, but that last little stint into Gibraltar, straight on the schnotter.
Straight on the schnotter, and with a massive rolling sea that's been building for a long time. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it is going to go. The other thing is once you get out though, like there's a really nice weather system that punches you south. So it's all about getting out as hard as and quick as you can. But geez, it's going to be. You wouldn't want to be in an Omoka going straight into that.
Oh,
No.
I shudder to think having glimpses back to the maybe 11, 12 race or whatever it was.
Yep.
With,
Abu Dhabi, wasn't it?
Abu Dhabi dropped its pipe and
Same sort of
Team
system.
Sanya almost sunk. And I remember just going to that. I was heading down, got the phone call that Sunday morning from Moose. And as I'm heading down there, you're going to need more than a tube of Sikaflex to fix this one. And one boat that made its way to Cape Town on a ship. Abu Dhabi got the spare rig in and they went again, but then got stuck in very, very light winds in the Med. So, but it does bring back memories.
You could wait till Wednesday, Avo. Like that, you could genuinely.
I was going to say, would it be in interest to postpone it a couple of days, because that is not only a big system. That's boat breaking conditions.
I don't think they will. Yeah, it'll be horrendous boat breaking conditions. And as we said, it's right on the nose. So the 65s will go out, but they're going to get smashed. Like there's big seas, and it really accelerates through the heads there. I like calling it the heads. I don't know if anyone else.
The heads. Yeah, on one side it's a monkey on the head, and on the other side it's an elephant.
Yeah. But so and with the tacking angles of the Amokas, they've worked out they're sailing better than they used to, but they've worked out how to go upwind a little bit better. But the tacking at the Amokas, they could just be reaching backwards and forwards,
not
getting anywhere
with the windsurf as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
What are those guys doing? Hanging out.
I'm interested. If we focus in on the teams, let's just talk the Amokas. So for the race, the 65s are doing the leg down to the Canaries, and then they go back because basically they haven't been out. None of them have replaced their mast, so they won't get insurance for doing around the world. So with the Amokas, I'm interested, one, who you guys think is going to be in the best boat and best perform boat, and who will go best, because I actually have a little bit of a thought on this, and I'm just interested what you guys think. What, not for the whole race, but also just initially for this first leg.
Oh, tell.
Okay,
we'll follow your lead.
Go. Let us know, and I'll let you know what we think.
Well, so there's a lot of different boats, right? So you've got, there's 5 boats. Some are brand new. Most of them are pretty recent. I think is it Goyot, the old. It's the black one. Alex Thompson's boat.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
Hugo Boss.
It's the old Hugo Boss from a couple of editions ago. I think it's gone around the world twice already. But the one I'm interested with this upwind stuff, remember 11th Hour? That's like a few years old now. That was designed for the race when the race was going to have a bit of upwind stuff in it, wasn't it? Remember that?
There was discussion, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, they actually built that. They designed that boat specifically for this race, and with the thought of it would be going upwind rather than just zooming across the Southern Ocean. So it's got a flatter rocker, that boat. It may handle the upwind a little bit better, but who knows?
I'm still looking at this and thinking there's going to be a lot of nursing going on.
Well, with the mass,
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah,
and this
one
is the
good
first
friend
part
used
of
to
it.
tell me about the ocean race. We weren't talking about the sailing. We were talking about a few other things that go along with it. But
yeah, you and Coxie just need to settle down.
But no, I concur. Despite what you've just said there, Jordan, and yes, the race course wasn't completely set back then. But there was potential to have a bit of upwind, and it was of a major concern for a lot of the Omoka boats. It doesn't look like that at all. But regardless, if you're on a 65, an Omoka, the bloody Scorpius or Leopard of London,
Navy
to
ship.
be departing Alicante in literally a couple of hours. By the time people listen to this, they would have gone. She's going to be a big night. They could all just go anchor up in the lee of that little Tabaka, the island BP.
Yep.
So
definitely a potential play. Just ride it out.
Nice little island, that one.
Wouldn't you like imagine if it was our boat, right? So we're doing it. We're in an IMOCA. We've got you, the three of us, and an onboard reporter, and I don't know who the female sailor would be, but
It'll have to be Rosalind.
Oh, she's taken. But a random.
No,
Anyway.
we'd get her. Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
in our team meeting right now, which is going on right now? Are we sitting there going, boys, should we just get a few cases of beer and get a barbie, and we'll sail around the corner, we'll anchor it up, we'll sit there for a couple of days, we'll get the wingdings out, and just enjoy the time, and then we'll pull up stumps and go when we're ready, and just
Well, I think Bicey had the right idea. The island of Burka, just off Alicante, it's got some fantastic restaurants. You can sit in the lee of that. We could just hang out there. We could do the start. Get all the
the fever out
vibe.
of the way.
Get the vibe. Yeah, get the vibe going.
And let's not forget Volvo's 70 days when the boats did pull in to port on their way up to China. Literally, several boats saved the rest of their race.
Yeah. So
Well, if seamanship comes into it.
Okay, here's a question for you. These teams are pretty much about the Vendée, right? So the IMOCA class is around the Vendée. That's the next big event after this. Some of these teams, are they just doing it as warm-up training? And if something goes wrong, say they get to the Southern Ocean and Bicey, you get a visitor, because something's gone wrong and they pull into Adelaide. Are those boats going to continue? Or are they going to go on a ship?
Oh, definitely going on a ship.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky if two boats finish this bloody race. I'll tell you. No.
Don't say that. We got a special guest coming up. We got to be.
No. I'm only joking. It's to tell you the truth. Right now, the rest of the race doesn't matter. Literally, these next couple of days.
I agree with you on that one.
What matters?
I agree with you on that one. I think you'll find a lot of people will probably end down on the African coast waiting for a little bit of a punch out. So they'll go get across down there and have a look and wait and see, because that's going to be honking across through there, through Gibraltar and through that area, Marbella, etc.
And for those who aren't sort of IMOCA experts, the mast is a one design element, and it's probably the weak point on an IMOCA. So, big seas, a lot of wind, big foils.
Upwind. Let's mention that. Yep.
The slamming, those masts, no disrespect to the manufacturer, are under massive risk.
Which is kind of not bad in itself, because you do need a weakest link, right? And because the next thing is the human link, is the human side of things. And as having spoken to a lot of the IMOCA, people who've sailed boats in this configuration, especially with the foils, like it is seriously, humans are the limit, right? So that's going to come into it. And to finish first you must finish.
Yeah.
Very good. Very, very wise words.
Yeah. Well,
I'm in your corner, Jordan. I'm pulling up. I'm dropping anchor at Taberka and spending a couple of days there.
Oh, it's not. I don't think it's a dumb thing to do. I honestly don't. I think you're at huge risk of losing your rig. But you could damage a foil pretty easily.
Then you just got to add a couple of other elements to that: a bit of gunsmoke fever, some helicopters, some TVs, and a bunch of spectators.
I'm probably going to head down to Almira or Cartagena myself.
Cartagena will be fine. Yep.
Yeah, just to and then just poke the nose out about Thursday.
Yeah. Well, Cartagena is a nice place. Very, very nice.
How Spanish?
This time of year, it's warming up. It's starting. It's not freezing down there. It's not too bad.
I was just thinking. I won't say names.
Maybe Marbella. It's beautiful down there. Marbella. Sorry.
Do you guys remember? I think it was the last start from Alicante. Do you remember the? I won't say the name of the skipper that took them up. Took an overlap boat up into the spectator fleet. Remember that luff up through the whole spectator?
Oh, between D and Whitty. Yeah, I remember.
Well, I'm not bagging D. Anyway, but that I was just thinking if I was going to say I was going to be anonymous, but at least sort of we probably won't see that again. But maybe we will. Who knows? But it'll be funny. It's not that windy during the start. The scheduled start's on.
No.
And once you get out through the straights,
then you start hitting. Look at that midday tomorrow.
Yeah, no, so I'm just.
There's a few little transitions midday tomorrow, and then once they get kind of in that big wider chunk heading into Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Once
you get out and start pointing to the Canaries, it's going to be unreal. Like the boat will be motoring. So, yeah. All right, the question I have for you guys, going in, who is going to win the ocean race?
Kevin Escoffio.
Team Wholesome PRB.
If they can get that boat, once the hammer's down on that boat, it's going to blow everything out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got to be able to keep the boat under them to be able to put the hammer down at some point.
I think that's the big question.
Otherwise, it's going to be 11th hour. Basically, they'll always be nipping there. They probably won't be the fastest on the track, but they'll be finishing every leg.
I think it's who finishes every leg. To be honest, I don't think necessarily they will have someone winning every leg. I think you'll have someone finishing every leg. That's the key to this race, I see.
Okay, they announced today that the race is going again in 2026 in Omokas. How many Omokas will be racing next time? 6. Not 20 or 30, because there's.
Oh, look, let's be honest. And this is from a non-ocean race someone who's did it a long time ago on a shore crew sort of sense. But you guys are heavily invested into the race a lot more than I was. I think that they're waiting to. I think everyone is waiting to see what happens with this one. Is it viable to do an around the world race in a crew to Mocha? Is it worthwhile, and is it do you get some form of return? Because that's what it's about. It's not just about doing a race. I mean, there has to be an element of
No, it's the return on investment.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no coincidence. The dates that they've put out, they're going to slide in nicely to make sure that the Omokas can do the Vendée, do the Route du Rhum, all those sorts of things. And it'll be up to the sponsor if they want to turn a €10 million campaign into a €20 million campaign.
Correct.
If that makes it, because she's no cheap feat doing a crude race around the world with stopovers. So that is, people will be watching with a sharp eye.
Yep, I reckon the end of this race we'll know. Which
boat would you guys want to be going around on out of the Omokas?
Oh, no, I was going on a Swan 65.
Yeah. Swan 120.
I thought we discussed this a long time ago. I think it might have even been our first ever episode. You asked me that, and I said nope.
No. Which boat you have to go? Yeah. Which boat?
And I said nope.
That was my
answer.
I'm going on the next boat. I'm going on is the Guillaume Verdier tweaked design. Or the last design prior to the next ocean race.
The last design prior to the next ocean. Oh.
Yeah, basically, we don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, we don't know what it looks like. A tweaked version of what we've got coming up.
Yeah.
You guys.
What are you going on?
Well, the one that's tallest.
505.
So I can fit in. You're probably one of them. I can't remember which one. One of them's like 1.4 metre headroom in the damn thing.
Yeah, well, that's good for you, right? It's about the same size. Got to
just
add the body to it.
1.4 metre headroom. What about the rest of the body?
Well, Melitza's at 1.9, so I'm going
easy.
On
yeah, easy, no problems.
You won't have to hold on to anything. Just straighten your legs. Samson post installed.
and then there's the bulkheads. You've got to get through them.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, either way, it's going to be fun. I'm glad they got it off the ground. It's
absolutely
crazy what they're going to start into.
We will be talking about it a lot. We do love it.
Yeah.
We do love the boats, and we wish every person in the event a safe passage as they head
100%.
off. Yep. It is obviously a form of elite sailing, and we love that as well. So let's get behind it.
Cool.
Oh, good.
Anything
Righto.
else?
Mm-mm.
No.
Well done, Bicey, for last week, by the way. Fantastic. Loved it.
Oh yeah, no, it was pretty nice to receive all the accolades from everyone there. But reality is, I didn't do much at all. You know, the whole team that got behind it ran it, volunteers, race management. My only job was to do the weather, and as I said in prize giving night, you're welcome.
Yeah. and you turned it on, I must admit. I thought you were losing a bit of strength towards the end, but it hung in there, didn't it?
Yeah, certainly did.
Definitely very, very good. Well done. A great regatta.
Cool.
Right,
Lads, there's so much stuff coming up. We're in for a good time. I can't wait.
No.
We believe we have a very, very, very special guest this week or next week coming up. So now I've put the mocker on it. Hopefully I don't put a curse on it rather than the reverse curse. But yeah, best of luck to everyone in the ocean race. Be safe. And
good on you.
All right.
See you, boys.
Cheers.
Should have bought the guitar.
Tried, but
We could have done prize giving live.
could have.
That would be funny.